Welcome back, you guys. Yes, the POWELL Dragon Wheels. So what is so unique about the POWELL Dragon Wheels and why is everybody going nuts about them? Well, the fact is they've finally created a wheel that is soft but still slides. So there's a lot of people that have been asking for something like this forever, or at least just wishing it into existence. But POWELL finally did create a wheel that does this. So today we're going to try and find out, how much do they slide? Is it really an improvement? And is there anything that you need to know about these wheels before deciding to go and buy them? Okay, so first off, they are a 93A, which is not super soft. We're not talking like cruiser wheel soft, but it's soft enough to absorb some pretty rough ground. Normally a 93A is not going to slide very well. You're kind of going to struggle. So these are the 52mm V1 shape, which is really similar to the 52mm 99A Formula 4 Classics that I usually skate. Let's just jump on these wheels on this smooth tennis court and see what I notice. So they do slide. Honestly, I wish I had a traditional 92A wheel to compare it to. But yeah, they do slide. Let me power slide a little more. It's definitely a bit grippy on this ground. But it will slide. Later in the video, we're gonna try a different spot that has some much rougher ground. But initially, we wanna know, how do they feel on smooth ground? So one of the first things I can tell you is compared to a harder wheel, they actually feel slower on smooth ground. Next, let's try it on the mini ramp and see how that feels. Woo! Yeah, there's a difference, all right. Okay. The first thing I noticed when skating this ramp is that the wheels are slower. Like right away on really smooth surfaces, they just grab more, they're slower. And this is well known. This is not new information, but you may have been wondering if these wheels, which are a 92A, are also still slower because they're different, right? The fact that they slide means they have a different property, but definitely I noticed it right away that on really smooth grounds, there's more friction, more grab, so it is slower. And they also don't slide that fast on smoother ground like this, smoother surfaces. One of the other things I noticed right away while skating these yesterday on coping is that they do bite a little bit. As the edge of your wheels, because it is a softer wheel, rubs against the edge of the coping when you're trying to grind, it's a little slower. So if you're a bowl skater, like somebody who skates big bowls, you may notice a reduction in speed, and you may notice that you might stick a little bit while doing certain grinds across coping. So my advice to you would be, if you're choosing to ride these wheels, take some time to get used to them before jumping full speed ahead in a deep bowl. So I especially notice it on anything where I have two wheels grinding, like a 50-50 where you got two wheels rubbing up against it, it's a little more. 5-0s where it's one wheel, there's a bit less friction. Let's do the Smith grind test real quick and see if we can Smith this thing. I mean, I'm not going to give myself any points for form on that Smith grind, but you can push it through. They don't grab too much on that. Okay, now let's try a tail slide. See if these slide well for that, because that's a hard trick on a ramp with a sticky wheel. I haven't called these sticky yet, just a little bit grippy. Ah, it slides no problem. I mean, again, I'm not winning any awards for longest tail slide here, but it slid no problem. I would actually say the slide on these is actually better than a 99A Bones STF. Like, honestly, the slide is easier than those. Those are way more grippy and barky.
Some people like that kind of barky sound. What do you think of that?
They do like the barky sound, and that I watched Dan Corrigan's video, and that's one of the reasons he doesn't want to skate these is because they're too quiet for him. But I do have somewhere that they make some noise. So let's go over to the flat bar here, and I'm going to show you guys a really good example. This is really going to let you know how much these kind of grab. Hear that? That was a horrible feeble. Let's see if we can clean it up. Woo!
Sounds like bad brakes on an old car.
So yeah, that's not my kingpin. That's not the truck making a weird sound. That's just the edge of the wheel rubbing super hard against the flat bar and causing it to squeal really loud because it's softer, because there's way more drag. So here's another little bit of advice for anybody who's buying these wheels and about to go and jump on whatever it is they normally jump on. And if that's big rails, beware. Again, take your time to get used to this wheel, how it grinds and slides on flat bars before stepping it up to something big. Because if you're like, oh, finally I got this, softer wheel, I can take it to this big rail where the ground's way too crusty. You try and jump down that like 12 or 15 stair and this thing bites on you because you don't know what it does. You could easily get pitched to the flat, and we all know that can end really poorly. So just like being careful before jumping into bowls on these, take a day or two to get really used to how these work before jumping down a rail, because generally when you're doing something gnar, you're going to be going on autopilot and you're going to do it the way you always have been doing it. So you need an adjustment period, in my opinion, before using these on something big and sketchy. Now, even though that was super loud, it was still pretty easy to push through. I wasn't having a major problem. This flat bar has not been waxed in a while, so it's not super slippery, but it's also not super sticky. Just the wheels rub a lot, and because they're soft, they make a loud noise, which was kind of fun in a way. All right, let's try some nollie lip slides on this unwaxed skate light, because that should definitely provide a little grip. Whew. Okay, it grabbed a little bit, but I honestly don't think that these are like much stickier, if any, than the 99A. I already said that, but yeah. And I'm talking about STF, like Bones STF specifically, not Spitfire 99, which is significantly faster. Yeah, it goes. Let's try a couple feebles on this curve and see how that feels. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it slides. I mean, I just waxed it up real nice, but it definitely slides. Yeah, it goes. It definitely. Okay, let's give it a number. If my regular setup is a 10 out of 10 for like how it slides across that on a crooked grind, which should technically be grind, but if you look at a crooked grind, I got all these marks across my board. You're also sliding the wheel across. It's actually this side, but yeah, you actually slide more of your crooked grind than grind. But anyways, how it actually feels, I would say if my regular setup is a 10 out of 10, this is like an 8 out of 10 in terms of how fast it goes across the ledge. So you can make up for it with just leaning back a little more, with a little more wax. It's not going to be a big deal. I should try a crooked grind on that thing and see if it bites. Except my Achilles is super messed up and I don't know if it can handle the like slamming into it. So, wish me luck. There's a little bit of bite. I'm gonna try my son's setup, which has regular 99 Spitfires, and then we'll go back to this. Honestly, barely any difference. On a crooked grind, I really don't notice it too much, and that polished marble thing would definitely grab a wheel like this, so it's pretty good. One thing I haven't tried on these yet is blunt slides. Woo. There's my Achilles a little bit. Better land this. Ah, no problem. Again, if a Spitfire Formula 4 is a 10, this is an 8. So yeah, I mean, sorry to keep comparing the two. I'm not using it to try and like compete the two wheels, but more as a point of reference, because most people are familiar with Spitfire 99A Formula 4. It's kind of the standard right now. So I'm using that to compare, not to like judge between the two. Okay, so unfortunately, because of my Achilles, I can't really test this out much for doing like flip tricks. In the past, I've tried soft wheels and not liked the way they made my timing feel for certain tricks. I'll just do a few kick flips and heel flips. I think that's all I can safely do. And I think we'll see that it's not really gonna affect those in any major way. Oh! I mean, honestly, I don't like the way it feels, and those aren't exactly textbook, but it's not, I don't think that's because of the wheels. I think that's because of my knee and Achilles. Yeah, no problem. Honestly, I really think these slide better than the STF 99A for the third time. Okay, you guys, so far we have not even begun to highlight what's really good about these wheels. All I've done is show a couple of the downsides without even going over what these wheels were created for, which was to make rough ground skatable for a more tech street style skater. Another thing you'll notice, as soon as you put the board down, it feels and sounds different. You'll be like, that sounds different. And you go like this, and it bounces. Let's see what this one does. I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll be the same, but I don't think so.
Oh yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different. So that bounciness will change how your flip tricks feel, like I mentioned, but I don't think in a way that makes it unskateable. Not at all. Okay, you guys, let's get started here. So if we take a look at this ground, I mean, just look at this. That is horrific ground, right? Like, this is a skate park. This is a wheel that works on a skate park like this. That slide's good. Leave it right there. I tried to do it right at that line. Just for a point of reference, I did actually bring my 97A Spitfires. So I got the 97A Formula 4 54mm conical full. So it's a bigger, wider wheel than the other one. So it's not totally accurate, but like, I just kind of wanted a comparison, right? Because I would say, if that one's competing with anything, it's competing with the 97. That's the closest comparable thing.
Definitely louder.
So the 93A for sure slide better than those. Like, I stuck. Now the Spitfire was a wider wheel, so it's not like a totally apples to apples comparison, but it's pretty close. What I would say though is that the 97A felt faster. These ones, the 93s, felt like, while it's smooth, it's also a bit bouncier, if you know what I mean. Like, yes, it absorbs it, but it's also like, it absorbs it in like an up and down sort of way. Whereas a slightly bigger, wider, although harder wheel tends to just bridge the gaps in the rocks and cruises over them faster and smoother. So to me, they actually kind of balance out the same in terms of like how smooth they feel, but definitely these are faster if I'm articulating myself properly. Like I really feel an increased speed on these.
Louder as well. I could hear it from like a distance.
Louder?
Yeah.
Which ones are louder? The Spitfire?
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are definitely smoother and nicer, right? Like in a way, not faster. But again, it's not apples to apples, because I think if I tried one with the same riding surface and it was 2 millimeters bigger, there would be a difference in how well this wheel bridges those gaps too. So we need to be really clear about that it's not like totally comparable. But I think we should just do a little bit of skating here. We'll get a few basic clips. I can't do too much again because of my Achilles. It's starting to get better. I don't want to set it back again. Can I drop in?
Yeah, you got that.
Touch. Street skater air. I mean, seriously though, these wheels are so super clean. Seriously though, you guys, these wheels are so much better than the regular wheels I ride. So to have a wheel that's basically the same shape and size as what I normally skate, a more tech wheel, but that rides so smooth in a park like this, it's amazing, right? Like, it's really good. And the slidability, the rougher the surface gets, the better these start to slide. So I would say if your home park or your spot you skate the most is a rough and crusty spot, these will be a game changer for you. If the spots you skate are mostly smooth, then you might not experience the real benefit of these wheels except from skating from A to B. Anyways, I said we were gonna skate a little more. Let's do a little more. Street skater tries wall ride. That actually hurt my Achilles. I'm not trying it again. Got to get a crook on that. Oh, another crookie monster? It was slower on the steel coping.
Oh. Woo! You good?
Yeah. Let's see if this flat bar squeals the same way as the other one. It's definitely slower though, but it's like slower than it normally is with my normal setup. Oh yeah! Yeah, we got one. Not bad, not bad. So yesterday I came here and I did skate this a little. I did some 50/50s and some Smith grinds. Definitely more resistance, not undoable. Okay, so the trick feels better. but getting to and from felt way worse. And when you're skating a park like this, where it's so rough, and you actually do the math of how much time you spend getting from A to B, you spend a lot more time just riding across the surface than you do doing a trick. So if I skated this park all the time, I would actually probably ride the 93A. And before we finish, let me try a couple things just on the 97A, just to see, you know, how I like that and if that would be a good alternative. '97A majorly sticks on the coping too. That was sweet! I like dropped in down that round edge of the rail. I think the feeble grind felt just fine. It didn't squeal, but we need to do a couple more to be sure. There's a little bit of squeal. It's less though. It's honestly a bit less. Okay, you guys, let's try and wrap this up because like it seems like I'm starting to wind up into more and more testing and stuff. But general first impressions, like, do I like it? Yeah, I do. I like the wheel. If somebody was like, this is the only wheel you can ride for the rest of your life, I wouldn't be like, man, it's gonna ruin my skating. I hate the way they feel. Like overall, I give it a thumbs up in terms of do I like the way they feel. I don't think I'm going to stay on them because most of the spots I skate are smooth enough that I'm not getting the benefit of the smoother wheel. And all I really notice is the fact that it feels a bit slower. So I'm not gonna stay on these probably for much longer than I already have, but I absolutely am gonna like keep a set of these in the backpack as a tool. So for me, this is a problem solver wheel. And I think that's what they were going for, right? They're going for a wheel that helps you skate spots that you can't normally skate. So it's debatable as to whether or not you can get a similar feature out of the 97A. I liked the speed of the 97A compared to these, but again, not apples to apples because it's a different shape. So overall, I think this is a welcome addition to what is already available out there. I don't think it's all hype. I don't think it's all marketing. I think depending on how much this solves the problem of how crusty your spots are is how hysterical you're gonna be about these wheels. So for me, it's more like I have a pragmatic approach. I think they're awesome and they're a benefit to skateboarding overall. I don't necessarily think they're the holy grail of wheels and that they're going to take over everything else. I prefer a harder wheel. I just know I do. Like maybe if I started skating on these and only skated these and then somebody got me to try a harder wheel, I would be like, ew, gross. Why would you ride that rattly nonsense? So I think definitely if you started on these and only skated these could be the only wheel you skated, to repeat myself. Anyways, I'm done, you guys. I got no more to say. I'm sure you have a pretty good idea of how these wheels are gonna feel, whether or not you wanna get them, whether or not you would daily ride them, or if you just, like me, probably keep them in your backpack to help you skate those spots that are unskateable without them. So, that's all I have to say. I hope you got something out of this. I hope you're doing really well and your time on your board is treating you really well. And as for me, I got to take a little more time off my board to let this Achilles heal. So hope you guys are doing well. Till the next one.